Let's start in the US, where the government has shut down for the first time in almost 7 years after lawmakers failed to pass a last-ditch funding plan. This means that many non-essential government services will grind to a halt. Live pictures coming to us, of course, from Capitol Hill. It's just after 7 in the morning Eastern Time. But in the Senate on Tuesday, Democrats rejected a Republican plan to extend the federal government for at least another 7 weeks. They demanded a reverse to health care cuts in return for their support. Shutdowns in the US are not that unusual, but there is a big difference this time around. President Trump has threatened to use the shutdown to bring in a wave of mass and irreversible firings of thousands of federal workers.
We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people out. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and abuse.
Well, this is the first federal government shutdown for nearly 7 years. So what does it mean for government workers and which services could be affected? BBC Verify's Nick Beake has been looking at the potential impact.
What will we see now there's a US government shutdown? The short answer is we don't know for sure, but we can build a picture based on previous federal shutdowns. What generally happens is that government workers who are deemed non-essential are put on temporary unpaid leave and normally paid later. This could affect services including federally funded preschools, the Student Loans Department, programs to help low-income families get food. National parks and museums could shut, and approval of new benefit payments may stop. It's worth pointing out government services often get funding from different sources, and so closures may be staggered. In the past, some vital services have not come to a halt and are expected to continue. Medical care in hospitals, border protection, law enforcement and air traffic control are expected to carry on, with employees being paid later. Active duty military members generally keep on working, and social security and disability payments would still be sent out. ICE operations are likely to be deemed essential by the president, given his crackdown on illegal immigration, a big priority in his second term. The Trump administration, initially with Elon Musk at the forefront, has spent the last 9 months drastically cutting parts of the national government. And the White House has suggested it could use this shutdown to cut many more jobs permanently. So how often do government shutdowns happen? There have been quite a few over the past 50 years. Most were only a matter of days, although in 1995 under President Clinton it went on for 21 days. In 2013 under President Obama, 16 days. And in December 2018 in Trump's first term, the longest shutdown so far began, lasting 35 days. So how long could this shutdown last? We simply don't know. The Republicans and Democrats seem miles apart, and the disagreements are increasingly bitter.
All Americans are going to feel some impact because whether they realize it or not, there's certain government services and government activities that are affecting your day-to-day lives.
The last shutdown ended after long lines at airports caused by air traffic controllers and security staff calling in sick became a symbol of a country paralyzed. A similar impact this time will increase pressure to do a deal.
That was Nick Beake there. Let's take you to New York and join CBS correspondent Naomi Ruckham, who is covering this story for us. Naomi, can I ask you about the politics of all of this? Are we essentially now looking at a bit of a standoff here, a stare-off in a way?
Lucy, good to be with you. It certainly seems so. Democrats are calling for a deal on health care provisions, which they say cannot wait. But top Republicans say they won't negotiate until the government reopens. So it's the usual blame game we often see in Washington this morning, while hundreds of thousands of jobs hang in the balance. All night long, lawmakers on both sides have been posting on social media saying the other side is responsible. The White House, for example, was quick to point the finger at the Democrats, posting an image on X shortly after midnight, calling it a Democrat shutdown. Meantime, former Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris pinned the blame directly on the GOP, saying Republicans are in charge of the White House, the House, and the Senate. This is their shutdown. Lucy?
Well, as we've mentioned, this is not the first time the US government implemented a shutdown. In 2018, President Trump partially shut the government down for 34 days, making it the longest in US history. As we know, Naomi, it cost the US government an estimated $18 billion. That's according to the Congressional Budget Office. The same body now estimates this current shutdown could cost the US economy $400 million a day. Take us through what the broader concerns are from people about the impact on the economy, Naomi.
Well, Lucy, the longer the shutdown goes on, the bigger the impact on the broader economy. Here's some good news. The 74 million Americans who collect Social Security will keep getting their monthly checks. So that's good for consumer spending. But some services could be disrupted. And that means Wall Street is watching closely. Dow futures already dropped 200 points this morning. The shutdown could force the U.S. Labor Department to stop releasing crucial economic data like Friday's anticipated monthly jobs report. And without that kind of data, investors will have to rely on other, less reliable information. That means they might take more conservative positions because of the anticipated volatility. And that kind of delay for such an important report could also cause confusion and more questions about what the Federal Reserve might announce regarding interest rates. Worth noting, though, members of Congress and the president will continue to receive their paychecks during the shutdown.